Okay. What's up, everybody? Episode 21 of the Drought Daddy Show, and today we are going to talk about things that I discovered or wish I knew when starting a restoration company. There is a ton of people in this industry who are very vocal about their success, right? Whether that success is marketing, whether that success is previous ownership, which is great, right? I think that that's awesome. Some of the advice that they give is, when applied, it to me, it wasn't super sound. I just feel like there needs to be a video of a guy sitting in the back of the truck where it's all happening, right? And just telling you like, hey, this is what it is. This is the reality of the industry. A lot of people, I think, are hesitant in this industry because they want to, on one hand, they really want to help other people, but then on the other hand, they also don't want to empower you to be super successful because then you'll be competing against them, right? In my opinion, that's where I feel like a lot of people are in this space. And I want to be the change for that. I just like telling people how I'm doing it, you know? I kind of show all my cards and put all my cards out there. And that's kind of what the purpose of this video is for, right? I don't want to hold anything back, right? I just want to be for real with people. So that being said, things in this video that we're going to talk about that I wish I knew or I learned when I began in this space. More so applicable to when I started my own outfit, right? First thing is how much private equity there is out there. I would say, and I can really I'm really more speaking in my own territory and then just kind of comparing it to yours, wherever you may be. I would say a good 70 to 80% of your local competitors are probably private equity backed. The interesting part is a lot of these private equity backed companies, they pose as really small local mom and pop businesses. When you really look at who owns the branding and who owns things, they have multiple locations across the US, right? And for somebody who's buying a franchise, you don't really need to worry about that because a lot of times when you're buying a franchise, you're buying into kind of the private equity world. But if you're somebody who is an independent restorer, your strategy in terms of marketing, in terms of taking on jobs, the types of jobs, your strategy has to be completely different, right? Because you don't have deep pockets like private equity, right? Private equity backed companies can take on a couple jobs, lose their ass, they can underbid you a little bit and probably be fine. They can run more ads than you and be fine, right? They have more runway than an independent guy. And that's something that you have to understand if you're looking to get into the restoration space, because that is a big percent of the market share in terms of restoration companies across the US. So keep that in mind. And there's pros and cons to both sides, okay? I'm not here to demonize anything. I'm just saying that it is what it is. Equipment is expensive. And not only is it expensive, if you want to take on multiple jobs at one time, you often need more equipment. And when you buy more equipment, you need to be able to buy the filters, you need to be able to clean the equipment, you need to be able to repair the equipment. Now, one piece of advice is there's a ton of different style of dehumidifiers out there, right? Now, when you have various brands and various styles, that is all various parts that you need to make sure you have on standby, and this is including filters too, for these pieces of equipment. Whereas if you buy the same style machine, then you only need to buy the same style of parts and filters as well. That is something that I didn't really realize at the beginning. I got really excited and liked this style and I liked that one and this one looked really good and I was told this one was powerful. So I ended up with a few different various pieces of equipment, and which is fine, right? I put them on jobs, I use them and I make best of them, but I can't just bulk order 40 filters of the same for the same machine, right? The other thing is when you have a lot of equipment, you need to be able to inventory and track that equipment. And you need software and technology to do that. And there's pre-existing technology out there, again, costs money. Now, there are ways around this. You can build your own tracking systems. We have a video on how to do that. But it's got to get done so you don't lose out on all the money that you invested in your equipment and forget them on jobs. They walk away, home forecloses. There's no way to prove that it's your machine. There's tons of variables, tons of situations that happen. But ultimately, equipment is expensive. So you're going to make the most money during a large-scale disaster, otherwise known as a CAT event. Here in Florida, we deal with a lot of hurricanes. So with hurricanes, and when a hurricane happens in Florida, a lot of times you're going to have people from out of state coming in. Then you're going to have people who are local guys, so they're handymen, they're general contractors, who also come in. And they're going to, they temporarily become your competition, right? So you have to understand that. And it's important to understand that, especially if you're somebody who's dealing with a CAT event for your first time, so you kind of understand and know what to expect. Because it's not just you and your normal competition that services your area, right? It's you. It pretty much just doubles or quadruples, right? At least it did in my experience. So a brief overview on my strategies. We were getting so many calls, there's no way we could possibly get to every single one. So we just took their name, their number down, and we basically just threw them in a spreadsheet. We didn't make them commit to anything, nothing like that. We threw them in a spreadsheet and we just went down the list one by one. And as we finished a job, we would call people on the list and be like, hey, we just finished a job. We have availability. Do you need mitigation? Do you not? What do you need? What's up? Okay, great. Okay. And we just went down the list and we just took it nice and slow. Slow is fast, fast is slow. That was kind of our motto through the whole thing. And I would say that it worked out pretty good for us. We didn't have a lot of headaches with jobs. Everybody we worked with was really great. We didn't just take on everybody and spread ourselves so thin that we couldn't even handle everything. Because I do know a lot of guys that did that, and they were extremely overwhelmed. And some of them even lost lots and lots of money because they just had to take everything on and feel like they had to go to every single call and I got to get it all and I'm going to make so much money. And then when things don't get paid or people start selling their homes, and like, it's really important to vet out the people that you're going to work with. Because some homeowners, a large scale event like this happens and you can't blame them. Their whole house got destroyed and they don't necessarily have the funds or the proper insurance to rebuild it. So they kind of just go another route and sell the home, and so you have to be aware of that, right? That you're going to run into those types of customers and you need to be strategic with who you work with. It's an unfortunate reality of today's world, but it's what you have to do, right? Education is really expensive. There's a lot of great people who teach in the IICRC, continuing education credits, licensing courses, and these people are really smart individuals and they need to be compensated for their time. But education costs do add up. And that is something that I had no idea about really when I started getting into this is, I figured, one certification, but you kind of get addicted to the education stuff. And you realize that with that addiction comes some money. So education is pretty expensive and it can add up, but you're also investing in yourself. And that's ultimately how I justify it, is that you're bettering yourself to ultimately give your customers a better outcome. And if our customers watching this, the money that you pay us gets invested to help us become better restorers. So that if you ever have to call us or you have to call us back, we can do a much better job for you. There's this notion in restoration that your phone should always be ringing. And if it's not ringing every day, there's a big problem. And I think a lot of these marketing guys use that as a ploy to, kind of guilt you into signing with them or, look, the phone needs to ring every week. Does the phone ring every day? No. I've worked for very big companies in my area, and I will tell you, the phone didn't ring every day. It just didn't, right? We weren't needed all the time. Now, we were working every day, but we weren't going on emergency calls every single day. So I'm comfortable saying that is just kind of the natural cycle of being in restoration, is some days the phone's not gonna ring. Now, should you just be sitting on your ass and doing nothing? No. You need to figure out a niche that is going to keep you busy every day that is still applicable to restoration. So what do a lot of guys do? They do air duct cleanings, because that is a simple way to keep your guys busy. It keeps you doing something, and you don't have to wait around for an accident to happen. So overhead eventually becomes a must. For a long time, I was really kind of running the business out of the van, and then I eventually moved into a storage unit, and then I've eventually moved to a formal shop. Now, the reason why you end up going this trajectory is because there's a point where you're using the van, you could show up to one job, right? But then what do you do when you show up to one job, put your equipment, then you get a call, you get 2 more jobs, right? So you go get more equipment. And you go get more equipment, you put it on 2 jobs. Then when all those jobs are done, all that equipment doesn't fit in your truck. Well, I need a space. I need to go get a space. So you get a storage unit, okay? Storage unit works. You can clean the machines as you pull them out and, around maybe your house or whatever. But there's a point where at the storage facility, they don't give you hoses. You don't have water. You don't have, certain regulations on chemicals. Can you store generators with gasoline? There is a point where even the storage unit doesn't work. You need your own running water. You need to be able to store stuff. Like, for example, we store a lot of rebuild equipment, and that takes up a ton of extra space, right? Because we got extra sheets of drywall, we got mud, you name it. It's just paint cans, like it just stacks up. And there's just a point where to do it properly and to do it professionally and to keep a clean order of operations every day, you just need a formal shop, right? It's just so much easier. You can run air compressors, you can blow dust everywhere, you can clean the shop, you can move stuff out, you can move stuff in. Having a shop just makes a lot more sense eventually. I don't think you should start there. You should work your way to there slowly. That is what we did, and we found it to be a great strategy for us. Insurance claims. So insurance claims aren't really that bad. I will say that it definitely takes a little bit more time in terms of documenting everything, going back and forth with the homeowner, to the adjuster, to the adjuster, to the homeowner, to you. It does require more time than you think. A lot of times when I'm doing insurance work, I find myself sitting at the computer a lot more. And that is kind of something where a lot of people just go, oh, it's super simple. You write up the thing and you send it and one and done, right? And sometimes, very rarely, that's the case. I will say when that was the case was during a large-scale disaster. There was so many claims going on and people moving and grooving back and forth that it was more just like, here's the estimate, and they said, okay, thanks, and they go, well, my adjuster's handling it, I guess. All right, see you later, right? And whereas when there's not such a large-scale disaster going on, it's a little bit more of an in-depth process. And so that being said, be prepared. If you're going to do insurance work, there is definitely some administrative time involved in that, documenting more than you think. So I document as much as I can. And to be quite honest with you, a lot of times our documentation, the customers don't even really care. But you don't document for the times they don't care. You document for the times they do care. One instance I can think of is one time an employee that was working with me, he saw me taking pictures of all the trash bags in the back of this van, and he asked me, he goes, why are you taking pictures of trash? And I was just like, well, you never know, it might come in handy. And I kid you not, that job, an adjuster had asked specifically to prove that we bagged trash bags with red tape and we put them inside of a trailer or a van. And I had the pictures. Now, from afar, a lot of people would ask you, why are you taking pictures of trash bags? Like, they're just trash bags. However, when it comes time, especially with insurance work, when you over-document, you can just send those photos right away. And let me tell you something, after I sent him, he said thank you, and everything was paid. So documenting is necessary, but a lot of times it seems like it's not. I can't tell you how many times I've sent Google Drive folders to customers, and I don't even think they've ever looked at it. They didn't care. They just were happy that the job was done and there's not sewage in their home. So that being said, documentation a lot of times might not seem necessary, but I'm telling you, at some point in time, it will be. So it's better to just get in the discipline now of documenting when it's not necessary, so that when it is necessary, you're already used to it and you're in. Software and marketing are really expensive in this industry. I would say that a lot of companies out there rely heavily on marketing and software. More so the marketing side. So This is helpful for you to know as a restoration outfit, because when you get started, you're going to get approached by every marketer under the sun who claims they can deliver you the most leads you've ever seen in your life. And then shortly after that, you're going to get calls from people who run CRMs who say you literally need our software in order to run a restoration company to be successful, which is not all true, and none of that's true at all. But again, it must be true for somebody out there, because these people remain in business, you know? So that being said, if you're just starting out, you need to understand that it is expensive, and it can get expensive very quickly, especially if you jump the gun and just start hiring these people out of the gate. I can tell you how many times I've seen people do this. They get started in the industry and they go, oh yeah, we're going to be making X amount by next month because we have this so-and-so is doing our marketing. We got this CRM and we're going to be so successful. And then 3 months later, they're pivoting, or they're not even working with that person, or they're not even off the ground at all. So it's really important to understand that while these things are very important and some people need them in the industry, that doesn't necessarily mean that you need them in the industry. There is a lot of things that you can do just with your phone to grow your business and be successful. And you really need to understand that, because a lot of these people are telling you otherwise to take your money. And in reality, you have all the power. That being said, guys, thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, let us know below. And if you guys have any questions, comments, feel free to reach out. Thanks for watching.